Welcome back to Maths with Mrs. J. We're at the point now where we can put together what I refer to as horizontal reference and vertical reference. If you sat down and tried to learn all these rules off by heart, you would not only be a very miserable person, but you would be wasting your time. We've basically learnt for the 4 quadrants what happens with both a vertical and a horizontal reference. And I can show you how to actually work out how to simplify these things like we've got here by just asking yourself a few simple questions. The questions that you're going to ask yourself are this: is it horizontal or is it vertical? Now, a horizontal reference means it's going to be pi minus something or pi plus something, or 2 pi minus or negative, all right? If it is horizontal, we kept the same trig ratio, didn't we? So sine stayed as sine, cos stayed as cos, tan stayed as tan. If it was a vertical reference, that means that we're doing pi on 2 minus theta or pi on 2 plus theta, or 3 pi on 2 minus theta, 3 pi on 2 plus theta. With our vertical reference, what actually happened was we swapped our trig ratios. So vertical you swap, horizontal you keep them the same. And in both cases, your sine, as in SIGN sine, comes from all stations to central. So horizontal, you're thinking your pi and your 2 pi. Vertical, you're thinking your pi on 2 and your 3 pi on 2 reference. Now let me talk you through these examples and I'll show you how easy it is. So we want to simplify cos of pi plus theta. Well, it's always handy to have a little unit circle nearby just to sort of reinforce what you're doing. Pi plus theta. Is that a horizontal or vertical reference? It's horizontal, isn't it? So I'm going to keep the same trig ratio. So I've asked myself, is it horizontal or vertical? Because it was horizontal, I keep the same trig ratio. Then the only other thing we need to do is we need to work out, is it positive or negative? Now, if you've got pi plus theta, you're in the 3rd quadrant and cos is negative there. So cos of pi on 2 plus theta will be negative cos of theta. All right, let's do the next one. Horizontal or vertical? Pi on 2 plus theta. It's a vertical reference, isn't it? With a vertical reference, we've got to swap our trig ratio. So sine will go to cos. Now, the only other thing we need to work out is it positive or negative? Sine in your 2nd quadrant is positive. I'm actually going to write a plus sign here just to sort of demonstrate the fact that we have actually thought through, we haven't sort of by default left it as positive, we have actually thought through that yes, it is positive. All right, tan of 3 pi on 2 plus theta, horizontal or vertical? Vertical, so tan is going to go to cot. Which quadrant are we in? We're in this quadrant here, tan is negative there. Cos of pi on 2 minus theta, horizontal or vertical? The vertical reference, so this will become sine of theta. Cos in your 1st quadrant is positive. Sine of pi minus theta, horizontal or vertical? Horizontal, isn't it? So it will be the same trig ratio. We are in our 2nd quadrant and sine is positive there. So we've just in fact shown that cos of pi on 2 minus theta is the same as sine of pi minus theta, interestingly enough. Tan of pi plus theta, horizontal or vertical? It's horizontal, so it's going to stay as tan. In the 3rd quadrant, tan is actually positive because both your y and your x values are negative, and so when you divide a negative by a negative, of course, you get a positive. Tan of negative theta, horizontal or vertical? It's horizontal, so it's going to stay as tan. We're in the 4th quadrant and tan is negative there. Cos of pi on 2 plus theta, horizontal or vertical? It's vertical. So it will become sine of theta. Is cos positive or negative in this second quadrant? It's negative. Sine of negative theta, horizontal or vertical? It's horizontal, so it'll be sine of theta. We are in our fourth quadrant and sine is negative there. And last one for this video, cos of 3 pi on 2 minus theta, horizontal or vertical? It's vertical, so cos is going to swap to sine. And we are in our third quadrant, so cos is negative there. Now, do you see how a little bit of understanding can save you a whole truckload of rote learning? Way, way easier to simplify these if you just ask yourself those questions. If you ever want to refer to an axis, for example, say I wanted to do sine of 7 pi on 6, which would be here somewhere, I wouldn't ever choose to do a vertical reference, okay? I would choose always, if I can, to do, which you can, a horizontal reference. So I would refer to that as sine of pi plus pi on 6, because 7 on 6 is 1 1/6. And I'll show you how to work with those in our next couple of videos.